This is Ready, Set, Reiki, a podcast about Reiki and all energy work from the curious beginner to the seasoned master teacher, welcoming all systems, all lineages, and all levels. Reiki is a journey and not a destination. And on this Ready, Set, Reiki journey, I refer to myself as a guide. So I'm Tracy C. Wright, and this, hello, Reiki family, Reiki blessings to you. Another wonderful journey I have in store for you today with Ready, Set, Reiki. So a couple announcements. Number one, Reiki News Magazine, Fall 2025. Check out my article, Reiki for Burnout, and lots of other great information here. I just love getting this magazine because as I go through it, every issue, it is another way to bring the energy in ways I never thought. One article, another issue had Reiki for a mouse. Wow, Reiki for a mouse. You can really do anything with Reiki. And then again, the Reiki Association has a magazine called Universal Life Magazine, and that's through the Reiki Association. My article, Handing Over the Keys. I recently not only sold one house, I sold two houses and had to go through really a very bumpy road in both houses, but they're done. Everything's closed, moving on. And really, Reiki was instrumental in helping me get through that process in this particular kind of market. But let's get back to an amazing, wonderful guest, a powerhouse. I'm so excited that she is here. You may know my buddy, my friend in Reiki, my friend in yoga. One of the many blessings of being on a podcast is that you meet so many wonderful, amazing people that become lifelong friends. And my good friend Rose Whippich has Chat Off the Mat. She had this wonderful, amazing guest. And I'm just like, yes, everything about her, fantastic. I mean, amazing offerings. I wish I lived close to her so I could be there and be at her school. Amazing. So let me tell you all about her. So it is Violet B. Rayne. Now, she has written 40 books for her classes, and she has been featured in published books and articles. She has been a speaker at expos and retreats and conferences, as well as guests on several podcasts. Now, she is the founder of the Sacred Temple Mystery School, magical creator of discovery, medium, and channel. Now, she is a master teacher of Angelic Reiki, Fairy Reiki, and Reiki with a Violet Flame. And she is also a sound healer and Akashic record master. And she also has her very own podcast, which she'll tell you about. So let's give a Ready, Set, Reiki welcome to Violet. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me, Tracy. I'm so excited. You are right. We met on Rose's podcast, and I think we instantly connected. So I'm very excited to be here with you today.
Beautiful. You had posted something online, and you had a class this past weekend, and just the detail to each of your students, the material. And I was like, wow, this girl has it all together. I mean, down to the Bic lighter. You gotta love it. Totally prepared. I wish I could have crawled right into that picture and sat right in that seat for that training.
And we would have loved to have had you too. Right. You know, one of the things that people do say about me is my attention to detail, because I feel like everything in your space, everything that you put into a class or a classroom has to have intention and purpose to be there, because it holds that energy for that space for the students, the teacher, and also the class. So I'm very much into that detail.
And I love it. It's just right on point. I'm like, yes, take it all in. So know when you take a training with her, you are absolutely probably getting beyond your money's worth. So, you know, wonderful. So as we begin our journey, I told the guests a little bit about you, but I know there is way, way more. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I love that your show's about Reiki, because it's very interesting. And like 2005, 2006, I was a senior executive of HR, very much in the modern world, doing what we've all been told: work really hard, get an education, go after your career, climb the ladder. I found that I was very empty and that things weren't as fulfilling as I believe that they should be. And so I really took this spiritual journey and I found a mentor. And through that process, she goes, "You need to check out Reiki." And at the time, I was like, "Reiki? What is Reiki? I've never heard of Reiki." She said, "Go to the library and pick up some books on Reiki and really look at them." And at the time, I'm like, "I'm not going to the library. I'm going to Barnes and Noble and I'm going to clean the shelf." And that's exactly what I did. I went into Barnes and Noble, picked up all these Reiki books and brought them home and started going through them. Now, at the time, I lived in Florida, which is very much the Bible Belt. So finding a Reiki master teacher was a little difficult where I was at. I really had to dig to find one. And my journey took me through several Asui traditional Reiki masters. And at the time, I was working on my intuition. I was starting to connect again. I was making that journey. And as I found each of these teachers, it just always felt like something was missing because I'm really big into, for me, Reiki is very sacred. Reiki should be held in a very reverent place. And not everyone does it that way. And nothing wrong with these teachers. They were great and wonderful. But I felt like sacredness had been absent and that there wasn't the reverence that needed to be and the divine connection. Now, the other flip side is I'm also was a college professor. So detail in the resources you were giving was very important to me too. And most people on their spiritual journey, don't take this the wrong way, hand you a few handouts. Here you go. This is what you're going to do. And when you come to my classes, you get a 200 to 300 page book, like a published book, because I'm a scholar. I want to know, where did it start? Where was it resourced from? Where do we get these details? And so I kept on this journey. I went through Reiki traditional Asui about 4 times with 4 different masters. One was online, 3 were in person. And then I kept on this journey, and then somebody said, "Angelic Reiki." And I'm like, "Ooh, I love the angels. Let's step in." And I did Angelic Reiki. And I fell in love with that modality and started really using it. But since then, I've also taken Karuna Reiki. You would think I'm a Reiki guru, all the Reikis. And then I took Fairy Reiki, and I was like, "Oh, we can make this much better, like everything I do. We can do this just a little. We can amp this up." So I loved Fairy Reiki. And then I was teaching like a non-traditional Reiki with a practitioner, and we were partnering, and we were like, it needs something. We don't know what it is, but it just needs a little, I don't know, a little something. And Saint Germain came to me and said, "Reiki with the Violet Flame." And so I've created a whole program with Reiki, the Violet Flame. Now, understand, if you're a Reiki practitioner, you probably have already figured out there are lots of different types of Reiki. But Reiki really started my spiritual journey of connecting and finding myself again and understanding. And so it really is my foundation, Tracy, of where I started.
Beautiful. I love that. And in my experience, in my journey, I've had a couple of professors who were Reiki masters, and you can really tell the difference in the material. One of my friends, I showed her my manual, and she's like, "Wait, when I got my training, I just got a couple papers." So I love that you go in and you go deep and you go hard. And really looking at the lineage, we had a Zui Sensei who, worked with the Reiki energy. And he was kind of, so to speak, building the plane in the air, right? He was trying to figure out, navigate through this. And then as he trained Dr. Hitachi, he tweaked it, right? He had studied, tweaked it a little bit, and then we went on to Kata. So you had that strong foundation, you had that education, you had those masters, and then having that ability to go on and tweak it a little bit. So I love that you took the time really to study and get familiar with that, and then kind of, make it your own. So would you say that Reiki found you, or you found Reiki?
I think it found me. I really think I was led to find that. And at the time, I wouldn't even have thought about energy healing as something I wanted to do. But for a personal journey, I think this is where people get confused sometimes, is they think in order to go take a Reiki class that they're going to have to give Reiki to other people, that it's going to be that next step. And Reiki is really a personal journey for most people, stepping in and understanding how you can use Reiki in your everyday life, how you can bring that in, how it changes your viewpoint, your perspective, and everything. I think that's where to start. And then as spirit leads you into other directions, please take that nudge. But Reiki is really for everyone and helps in so many things that you really don't even realize.
Right. I always feel that everyone should at least have Reiki 1, that self Reiki. You don't have to go on to have a business or teach. That may not be your thing, but just to have those tools that you're able to breathe and allow this energy to flow through you, and having it as a daily practice instead of just waiting until everything hits the fan is that key to it. But just, it's a great stress reducing modality to bring into your life.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And, it helps all of us and it helps everyone around you, because here's what happens when you get attuned to Reiki and you get attuned to that energy. You may not even be thinking about Reiki, and it turns on because it's very purposeful, and that something or someone in the space really needs that energy. And we're being called to be of service at that time, that place. And I also love that about Reiki, because I can be walking in the grocery store and I'm trying to find the grapes, and all of a sudden my Reiki is turned on, and my belief is someone around me has been asking for healing or release or something in their life, and I'm being used as a conduit of service to the divine to provide some of that energy. And they will tend to get closer and closer to me, almost following me for a little bit. And I just hold a space of gratitude for whoever needs to receive it in that moment, that they're getting what they need from that.
Beautiful. And I love that you went on to take different Reikis as well, because we have our nice foundation of Azui. And, just like I went to college in education, but my specialty was elementary education. We have those specialty Reikis. I'm trained in angel and you're in angelic, and so I did, when I learned money Reiki, when I got that information, I'm like, wait, I think we can really take this to the next level. So I did as you did with the other Reiki and add different things to it, and, kind of explored a different option with it. So as you learn, as you grow, as you become educated as a master, you're able to have that ability to shift and change as the energies call to you.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you should always be curious. I think, years and years and years ago, when somebody was a practitioner, they specialized in a specific area and they stayed in that lane. Today, we don't necessarily stay in those lanes. We have a huge toolbox with lots of different tools, excuse me, that we use for different things and different purposes. And I think each one expands our evolution and understanding of what we're working with, and allows us to be a more effective practitioner in what we're working in. So I think it's just really important to check out different things, because I don't think one is the only answer.
Correct. And I find it, you may find it too, a lot of practitioners, they have a lot of modalities under their belt. That may just be the collective and what we're preparing for the world, but it's really rare that you have like, well, I just have one modality. You usually have 20 or 30 or 50.
That is true. I think we all work that way, right?
Mm-hmm.
At least today, like I'm an Akashic record reader and a sound healer and a Reiki practitioner. And, I do lots of different things. It's not just one thing. The challenge with that is sometimes it can be confusing for somebody coming in of, what should I do first? That's the downfall of this. I almost feel like we should have a 30-minute session, an hour session, blah, blah, blah. And then we figure it out as we go along, right?
Right. Like you come in and it's like almost a menu, right? Like, I don't know where to start.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So 20 years of experience, you're out here, you're sharing your gift with the world. As you're out here, what are you finding as a common misconception about Reiki?
Well, I think most people's common misconception is it's religious, that it is tied to some type of religious organization. Just like angels, there's that misconception that they're for the church only. And neither one of those are true. It's for everybody. It's for everybody to have access to it. You don't have to have a certain belief to be able to access that energy. You can receive and not really believe in certain things. It's about just being open to be receptive to the energy. I think we limit ourselves sometimes. Our beliefs or what we've been told create blocks and limitations that don't allow us to really explore and be curious and find things. So I would say if you ever have a curiosity about something, start asking questions and looking at it, because most of the time Spirit's trying to guide you. And when you have that curiosity, it is them going, come on, check it out. Come on, look at it. Right?
I believe that as well. It's like that nudge. So if you have that calling, that may be, the universe directing you into that path. But we have that culturally created self that tells, nope, that's not good. And we don't do that. I was at a vending show recently and just the word Reiki, she's like, yeah, I don't do that. No other explanation, nothing. Just walks away. It's like, okay, that's fine. Honoring that free will.
Right? Absolutely. If that's not your thing, I understand that. Just like, most of us teach that you need permission from the client before you give them Reiki, because they need to be open and receptive to receive it. It's kind of the same thing. If you ask somebody, hey, are you interested? And they're like, nope, not my thing. Okay, no worries. Thank you so much. And just let it go.
Beautiful. Now, your classes help those on those spiritual journey, helping to deep their path and help inspire growth and empowerment. But as you've gone along on your own journey, what has been a challenge or struggle that you have faced?
I think life is a challenge or struggle right now. And I think everybody, if you said, does life feel a little challenging right now, would raise their hand.
Yeah.
And I think understanding that just because you're on a spiritual journey and you're doing your work doesn't mean that life's not going to be challenging, because that is part of this human experience. I think the most challenging thing sometimes is students, clients, customers believe that you have this perfect life and that you're not human and that you don't have any flaws and nothing out there that's unusual. And I love to tell people I'm part of the human race just like you. I have my own bumps and challenges. I have my own things that I continue to work on. And I think all of us do. Now, they may be different, but we all have our challenges. I think one of my other challenges always that I have to push myself is I allow myself to get too busy where I'm not taking care of me. And I'm really passionate about helping other people. So I really have to force myself to take time for my own healing, for my own work, to do my own stuff. And I think when I ignore it too much, Spirit's like, we got you. And they kind of force you to be able to do your work. So I've found in the last several years, it's so much easier if I just volunteer and go do it versus being pushed. And what I mean by that is, let me give you an example so that you understand. For years and years, I would be sick from early fall all the way through winter. I have allergies. I have all those things. And I would just keep physically pushing until you hit that wall. And then Spirit would let me be sick all winter, which made me rest, right? And I learned in the last several years that what they're trying to tell me is you have to take time for you. And if you don't, you will all of a sudden be sick in bed for 5 days because they're letting your body rest. They're letting you rest. They're letting you have time. If that's not the kind of vacation or time that you really want in your life, then you need to take care of yourself so that you have a little control. I'd rather be at the beach than sick in bed. So I will do my work so that I can enjoy those times.
Beautiful. And, 20 years in, corporate training and higher education, isn't that interesting that it happens in the fall, right? Do you know what I mean? I've had the same thing too. The last 5 years I've really devoted to Reiki and the healing arts. And I'm always like you, go, 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 go. And the way spirit gets me is like, I'm going to get this girl sick. And I knew it coming up because in May I had an article published, I submitted an article about burnout, and I kept hearing the word rest, rest, rest. And when I go to massage therapists who are also intuitive healers, they're like, your body's saying to rest. And this is when I sold the homes and moving and my kids moved. And then it all hit in September. It was like, boom, first time ever with COVID. Boom, got a sinus infection. Boom, got bronchitis. I mean, it was trying to knock me down, right? As you have a bull that you're shooting a couple times with the dart. And I'm like, okay, I got it. So really backing off. And I find too that those of us in the, healing arts, it seems we get it more. You'll have people that say, but you do Reiki all the time. You should be feeling fine. You shouldn't be getting any colds. But I feel like we kind of get hit a little bit more with things because we're in this work.
It is absolutely true. We train our students, don't take on other people's energy. It's
right.
Not you. You're not, you want to make sure that you're protecting yourself so that you're not taking on those energies. But our students that are our largest empaths have the hardest time protecting their energy and not putting their heart and soul into their work, which means they're taking on some of this energy if they're not really careful. So being very aware and having that perception of what's going on with me, what's happening, what's going on externally around me, what's affecting me is really critical and important for all of us to have that awareness so that we're taking care of ourselves.
Right. And if you look back at history, this is why it's so important to go back and look at the history about how Zui Sensei, in those 4 years, how many people he interacted with before cell phones, before social media. And it seemed like how many people a day he interacted with. And then, he passed of a stroke at 65 versus Madame Takata, who had that pricing system, $10,000 for a master. She was doing this in the latter 30s all the way up until very close in the latter 70s until she passed. So it's so interesting that maybe that pricing system that she put into place was a way of self-care, right? Mm-hmm. That she wasn't taking everyone to really exhaust her. But yes, as an empath, definitely, Zui was excited and wanted this to be shared with as many people, but was it at the detriment of his own health? So that's why as practitioners, we need to be very mindful and careful of our health because you want longevity. You want to be in for the long term, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's what we're here for, right?
Right. Absolutely. So when it is time for you to have an energetic tune-up, what qualities do you look for in a Reiki practitioner? Or you can kind of describe the qualities of the teachers, the master teachers you've chosen, if you don't go out and get your energetic tune-up.
I find that I'm really kind of picky. I mean, I think as healers, if we're healers, we tend to be very picky on who we work with. I don't know why, but I look for individuals that have clarity in who they are and what they're doing, that they hold sacred space for people, that they really have that compassion of supporting people. I also am very picky. I don't do healing in fairs or expos unless we're in a room. I think confining that energy, you're working in somebody's etheric field, you're making changes, you're moving energy. It should be in a sacred, contained space where you don't have tons of energy coming in and interfering with that. So I really look for those types of things too. I also like it when I complete a healing, that I feel like I have moved forward, that I've released something, that I've really cleared, that energetically it feels right, because we have a tendency to follow what we think when we really should be following where our heart leads us, what feels right, what makes sense to us. Do we connect? Do we resonate with that person? Their structure. I always look at, what training, what time have they invested in their work, how many sessions or how many people they've worked with or where they come from. I think all that's important. I also make sure that they are really professional. Do they have a form? Do they disclose what they're doing? Are they running it professionally as a business, or does it seem like a side gig? I really look for that professionalism and stuff, even in my energetic healing, because I think that sets the foundation and stage.
Beautiful. So as a spiritual educator, you have been the visionary behind Discover Your Spiritual Gifts and the Sacred Temple Mystery School. What are some red flags that you would, for our listeners who are out there exploring, they're trying to find that just right, what are some things that you see in this industry that's like, no?
Oh, that's a great question. I think number one, when you meet somebody and they give you the impression that it's only their wisdom, only they know the right thing to do, only you have to follow exactly what they say and do, that's a big red flag for me, because here's the thing: the universe is constantly changing. We're constantly changing and evolving, and understanding that nothing stays the same. So I like to see people have that flexibility. I'm going to give you the foundation, I'm going to give you the tools, but then it's your turn to choose what works for you, what resonates with you, what should be yours. I've had many spiritual teachers, unfortunately, that had large egos. I'm the only one that can teach you. I'm the only one you can learn from. I'm the only one you should listen to. Those are red flags. For me, that's a human ego stepping in, and they've been doing this a long time. I have told my family to keep me very humble. I'm a human, a person. I bleed, I cry. I have heartache. I'm here teaching because I've moved through these energies, and I'm just trying to share some of my experiences and wisdom so that maybe it can help you on your path. And I always tell people, if it doesn't resonate, if I say something that doesn't resonate with you, please drop it at the door as you leave. But don't be surprised if you come back and pick it up later on, months down the road, or even years down the road. That's okay. Do what feels right to you. Connect with where you feel. I think the other thing is you want to find teachers that are referencing their sources, that they're not teaching somebody else's curriculum or what they've worked on, that they disclose to you where they've been taught, where they've learned, where their education is. I mean, if you go to my website, I have a professional page and a spiritual page. Every class I've ever taken, every person who's ever taught me is listed on there, because I want you to understand, I just didn't make this up in my sleep. I have actually had training and classes, and I've invested time and resources to learn these things. So I hope that answers your question.
So what are your thoughts on someone who goes online and takes the classes in a weekend, in a couple days? You see some of these like in 2 weeks. you're a Reiki master, or in 5 days. And maybe their energy is great. Maybe it's something that they've done this work since Atlantis, but they've done it in a short period of time. Is that a red flag for you?
It is, because if you think about Asui, he required his students to work with him for months, years, before they ever got to master level. Now, I understand that we live in 2025 and instant gratification is our drive. We want to drive up to the window, ask for a product, get it immediately, and take it home. I get all that. However, you have to work in this energy. It takes time. And, I have students that will take a class, and I offer level 1 and 2 of Angelic Reiki Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. I offer that, but they don't get their certificate until they do 5 sessions, because the reality is a lot of students will come and they do the class and they love the class, and then they take the book home and they put it on a shelf and they don't ever use it or look at it again. Reiki was given to you as a gift for you to utilize, for you to lean into it, for you to play with it, for you to work with it. And that's not the master level. That's just the first level. And there's 300 pages in the book that you get. Plus, I have an online, which is all the lectures, all the meditations, everything that I've taught, that I also make you finish again, because I want you to go through and listen to it again. Because instant gratification doesn't work for everything. And there's a reason why healing touch practitioners have to do hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of sessions before they get their rubber stamp that they're ready to go out in the world and do healing on other individuals, especially hospitals and in the medical centers and all that. There's a reason why those requirements are placed there, because you're not going to walk away being the master. I love your question, but I also love the fact sometimes a student will come and take a class with me, Tracy, and then Monday they've posted on their website that they're doing the sessions at the same price that I do them. And I'm thinking, I've had 20 years of experience doing this.
Don't you love that? And I love how where you have your training, and then the very next week they'll do a class, or they'll take something you've done and charge more than what you've charged.
And you're like, really? Where did that come from?
Exactly. Yeah, I've seen it where I've seen people take something I've studied for years, and they'll take a class in a weekend, not from me, but from somebody else, and then go out and they'll start doing things, and charging what I was charging, or if not more. And people are paying for it. And I'm just like, okay, you have, and like thousands of dollars in investments and education, right? And the hours and hours. When I did my Azui Rahiho, that was a different path. It was level 1, and then you had to do self Reiki for 21 days and come back to the teacher and talk. And then you got your certificate. Then you had to wait several months for level 2. Same thing again, 21 days, go back. And then once you got your level 3, it didn't even make you a master teacher. It just made you a master. And then when you were ready to teach, you apprenticed. So I had that with my teacher. And it was supposed to be for a year with that. And I had to create PowerPoint presentations on a Reiki talk. I had to put so many hours in and log my hours. I had to read books and tell my teacher about it. So all these things, and people don't realize like what's behind the scene. It's like an iceberg. You're only seeing that tip. Like we're seeing what you're doing now, but you're not seeing the years and the hours that we invested into this.
And you talk about pricing. Pricing is really important because I don't know. I'm curious about what people are pricing things on a regular basis, because I'm constantly going out and checking different things. Because here's the thing. When I get through with my class, this is what I tell students. You have to do 5 sessions that get you your certificate. Then I want you to do 5 sessions getting testimonials. And then I would love for you to do 5 sessions to get referrals. And then I want you to do 5 sessions and charge $20. And then 5 sessions. In other words, we're building that experience, because the more of it you do, the more comfortable you get with it, the less it's awkward, the more you gain from it. People can, especially professionals, can recognize whether you really know what you're doing or whether you don't. And that practice helps. And a lot of people will be like, oh, yeah, I'll do $20 session and let you practice. It helps you gain that confidence and the integrity that you need, and also the professionalism to be able to do that. So if you have somebody out there that you know that's taking a class and they're like, hey, I'd like to do a session for $20, please step in and help them, because the more practice they get, the better they're going to get with these tools.
Yeah. It just, there's no regulation with this, right? You have massage therapists, there's regulation, hairdressing, regulation, nails. But with Reiki, it's like the Wild West. You have such a variety of prices, and, you'll have somebody say, well, why are you charging this and this person's charging that? So it's hard to navigate through it. It's like, well, this is what my time is. This is what I compare the prices to. And this is what I feel is priced appropriately. And then they'll go to someone else is like, well, this person's $20 or $30. And that person, because you're in the same area, maybe didn't have all the education and all the time, so yeah, it makes it tough.
Those those are students that are practicing. You can also tell a lot about where the price is set. If you're really wanting to do healing on yourself and invest in you, then go find the practitioner that's been doing this for a while, that is charging a fair price, a fair marketable price. And if you think about it, here's something to think about. What does a plumber charge you per hour? What does an attorney charge you per hour? Now, I'm not saying you should pay an attorney's rate for a Reiki, but put it in perspective and honor that person that's done that work, but also step up for those students that are learning, that are trying to learn, and know that's going to be a really different experience from someone that's been doing this 10, 15, 20 years, that has really developed a skill, a style, and how they do that, and experience it. Try them both and see which one works better for you.
Very good. Very good. And also, as you mentioned, you have everything listed on your website. So you have that transparency. Ethics is so important. Just being honest, speaking where you got your material. Like when I use the ICRT material, it's from William Rand. And I say, this is from the International Center of Reiki, training. This is where that information comes from. So always give credit to the teacher. When I did Uzui Rahiho, it went from teacher to teacher. So one of my things during my apprenticeship is that I had to write my own manual. So you have to cite it, and then that became the love. My background in education too, loved making, that thematic units and things like that. So love putting manuals together. So that's one of my favorite things to do. So what books do you recommend?
Well, with Angelic Reiki, some of the books we recommend is What is Light Body, which was channeled by Archangel Ariel, and it talks about setting sacred space and different things. It is definitely one of my recommendations. I also love the book, The Complete Ascension Manual by Joshua David Stone. It's an older version, but it talks about ascension, because Angelic Reiki is all about ascension. And so helping people understand, Kevin Core was the creator of Angelic Reiki, and it just is part of where he went with his education, his resources, and what he taught. There's lots of things out there on Reiki and energy healing. I love Cindy Dale. I love Barbara Brennan and their books on the etheric bodies and understanding energy and chakras and all those systems. So those are always some that I'm going to reach for when I'm working for things. But those are probably my top books.
Beautiful. And you've published several yourself, correct?
I have for my classes. I write a lot of books for my classes. And I think I'm up to 60 some books for my classes. I
Beautiful.
do have a book in my future that'll be more of a published book for the public, that I would like to write eventually. Because of my mystery school and those teachings, those books are 200 to 300 pages a piece. And just priesthood alone is like 12 books. So it keeps me pretty busy.
Beautiful. So what classes do you offer, events, trainings? I was checking out all your things. I mean, you have several things going on a month. I mean, you're all the way listed. You are on your game. You're listing things all the way into 2026. I was like, wow, this is amazing.
It's crazy. But with my mystery school, I always have 4 classes or 4 tracks going at a time each month. So to have those scheduled out, because those are 1.5 or year programs, I have to have them listed so the students kind of know where they go. But when we look at programs, I just recently moved all my systems onto one platform. So now I have 4 websites. I don't have one, I have 4. And the reason that I created 4 websites is people that are looking for in-person education in Denver. We have a whole community that teaches classes and offers services, and it's kind of a collective community type program. So I have shamans, I have psychics, I have channelers, I have women's circles. We offer 25 to 30 classes a month there. And all of that is on our discoveryourspiritualgifts.com website. I also have my own website for violetrayne.com, which lists all my classes, all my online services and programs, and also my podcast. So that's for people that are really looking for just information on me. It also gives my bios and backgrounds and where I've spoken. Now, I also have my mystery school website, and that website is for people that are seeking a higher level of education. And those are in-person classes, but we're getting ready to launch that online, which would mean that people anywhere in the world will be able to take it online. The requirement will be they'll have to travel in a weekend or 2 during the program to do the hands-on stuff, but they'll be able to take most of it online. That's what we've been working towards for several years, and we're getting really close to launching that online. So you can go and look at that website. It has a lot of information. And then if you live other places, we have an online academy website, which is all of our online programs that you take at your own pace, that you can take and do. And so depending on what you're interested in, what you're looking for, and then our footers at the bottom of the website will guide you to the others so you can bounce back and forth. But I teach archangel classes, psychic development, channeling, mystery school, play shops, broom making, candle making. I mean, the list goes on and on and on and on.
I love it. It's a variety of so many wonderful things. Isn't it wonderful? That's, I think, why I resonate with you so much, because it's exactly like what I do, just keeping it creative, and original, and you don't gatekeep either. That's what's wonderful. You're bringing in all of these other individuals to share their talent as well. So
yeah, and I love that. I think, we all resonate with different people. So having different people that are doing different things is important to me.
Right. Beautiful. So where can we find you if we want to get in touch?
What I would say is www.discoveryourspiritualgifts.com or violetrayne.com. And then you can navigate from the footers to wherever you want to go. There's lots of free stuff. We offer lots of articles. I have blogs on most of those websites and newsletters. You can sign up for our newsletters. I write a lot of articles. So I think right now I'm writing 10 to 12 a month.
Beautiful. Like, that's what I'm in, like a machine. Love it. I love it. Well, that ends the first part of our journey. I'm going to guide you into the next part, which are questions from listeners and Reiki students. So, number one, what inspired you to create and establish the Sacred Temple Mystery School?
In 2011, well, actually before that, 2009, I had been working as a senior HR executive in Florida, and my job got eliminated. But prior to that, I had said a prayer to the heavens because I had done all this work and had worked really hard to create a lot of these things, but I wasn't happy. I didn't have joy in my life. And I asked for joy. And I also said, if that means you take everything I got, then take it all. And so the divine did. It took everything I had. It took my house, took my jewelry, took every material thing practically that I owned. And I walked a journey of the dark night of the soul for about 4 years because I kept trying to go back to what I knew. And Spirit's like, nope, you asked for this. This is where you're going. And when I came to Colorado in 2011, I was really searching for something more. I had taken Reiki, I'd had those classes, I had taken Akashic, I'd learned that. I understood pendulums and all the things, but I wanted to know more. I wanted to understand more. And at the time, I'd kind of hit rock bottom. And I just happened upon somebody here in Colorado that had a mystery school. And it changed my life forever. It gave me a new perspective, a new direction. It filled that hole of sacredness. And when we went through that school, Tracy, our teacher, told us, you are not worthy to teach these programs. You cannot teach this. Just like many people have in their life that they have a teacher. And I kind of got pushed out at the time when I was really sick. I was dealing with lots of health issues. And because I wasn't fully engaged, they pushed me out of the community, which was another thing. And at the time, I was dating this wonderful man that became my husband. And he's like, you need to teach this. And I'm like, nope, I was told I'm not worthy. I can't teach this. And he goes, math, 2 + 2 = 4. It's a basic foundation. Nobody owns it. And I said, but I'm not worthy. I'm not allowed to teach it. And I honor people in their work. Now, my teacher gave us a few sheets of paper, like most spiritual teachers. I got little handouts. And I decided that Spirit kept pushing and pushing, and students kept asking for these teachings, and they kept asking to understand. And so I took the pieces that I had learned, along with lots of other pieces that I had gathered along my path, a lot of other understandings. And with the spirit guides that I had, I built Sacred Temple Mystery School. So a lot of people will ask, what is the legacy? Where did it come from? Well, all mystery schools came from King Solomon. They all came from there. That's where all the teachings came from. Or you could say Lemuria or Atlantis. You could also go back to there. Most of it was verbal. Things would be handed down verbally, just like we know for centuries. We've handed teachings. Asui handed down verbally. Katata didn't write anything down. She taught it, and afterwards people said, oh, we need to write some of this down because historically we lose stuff, right? So this stuff's been handed down from generation to generation, hidden from the planet, but it's there. It's basically in everything, just like our religious beliefs. If you see the dots that connect across different beliefs, you can see how things connect. Energy healing, if you dive into lots of different modalities, you'll see foundation and connection with all of it. It's not any different, but it really is passion for me. It's important to me. And I've watched people grow and evolve and change and expand, and their lives be totally different from doing those classes and bringing in that energy. So that's what pushed me to do what I do today. And I'm really very passionate. 15 years ago, when I walked into the mystery school, that word was not out there very much. You didn't hear somebody talk about mystery schools. Today, they're popping up everywhere. Everywhere. And I would say the one thing I would say to people about mystery schools is a mystery school can charge you anywhere from a low price all the way up to $30,000 a year to attend. Use your discernment. Use your discernment. There's a lot of really great mystery schools that are not going to break your bank, that you're not going to have to go out and take a loan against your house, that you're not going to have to pull money out of your 401k. Really use discernment in what you're doing. I think sometimes we price things really out of that a lot of people don't have access. And I think we're in a time where people need these teachings, need Reiki, need to be on a spiritual path, and it shouldn't put them in the poorhouse to find it. But that's a personal opinion that I have.
Well, thank you for sharing your story. And if anybody hasn't told you, you are worthy.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Now, do you work anywhere else, or is this just everything that you do now? That's just your focus?
That's what I do. That's my focus. I don't have any other jobs. Sometimes I'll do a fair or an event with somebody else or be on somebody else's podcast. But this is what I do full time. And so it's kind of like my pre-retirement passion project.
Yeah, because you may know, as some students, their dream, is doing what you're doing, what I'm doing, right? To just solely do this full time. And a lot are very nervous to kind of take that leap away from that consistent paycheck, into the unknown. So how long, like you've said this, 15 years ago, you connected into the school. Was it something that you continued to work with, or you just knew the calling, your spirit guides were there, you knew this was your work, and just left behind everything to move forward with this?
That's a great question. In 2015, I was getting married. My husband is a rocket scientist. So one of those scientists, he's on the science side, I'm on the fluffy side. And so he says, you work really too hard. If you could do anything, what would you do? And I was in a place, because at the time when we got together, I was working what I call 4 muggle jobs. I was a college professor at 3 schools, and I was an HR manager executive. So I was working all of those jobs. And he said, if you could do anything, what would you do? And I said, this is what I would do. This would be what I would want to offer. And I got lucky enough to do that because he takes care of everything else. And this just gives me an opportunity to do something that I love and that I can really step into and be into. So it has allowed me to have this dream. And I have to be honest, I work really hard at it. And I'm sure Tracy does too. So when you step into these types of things, it takes all you got to keep it going. It's not an easy process to do, and you got to have a solid foundation sometimes before you try it. But what I would tell you in the world today is the world is changing, and lots of people have opportunities to work part-time in their careers, to work part-time in their professions, so that they can do this on the side and build their tribe, their clientele, and their business, so that they can step out of that world into this world. That's kind of the best way to do it, is to be able to find that opportunity where you can work 3 or 4 days professionally to have the money coming in that you need, and then spend and commit to 2 full days or 3 full days doing this to build it. And that's the way that I see a lot of people are able to transition over and do that sort of thing, because you don't build clientele overnight. If you quit your job and expect that you're going to hang a shingle and everybody's going to show up tomorrow, it doesn't work that way. And so it's a way to transition from one to the other.
Right. I mean, I couldn't do this work without my husband's support, but my situation was a little different. I moved from Pennsylvania to El Paso and starting over, right? And so you start from scratch. But one of the things I did was get contracts, go to the wellness centers, go to those places to get that steady contract. And then that way that helped. And then it helped me network and build people. So you still had that certain amount of money coming in every month as you began to build your clients. So
yeah.
Great advice. Number 2, what is fairy Reiki and how has it helped you in your healing practice? You know, my daughter's like, don't work with fairies.
Fairies are beautiful and playful. They can be opinionated if you're not taking care of the planet and earth and doing the right things. And they have a right to do that. We should be honoring this planet, this beautiful space that we live in. But here's the thing. Fairies are very playful. They're very fun energy to work with. And when I do fairy Reiki, where it really is super helpful is when you're doing inner child work,
yes.
when you're doing wounds and trauma that are really deep, because a lot of us, when we have that deep trauma and wounds, we don't really want to go back and revisit that. We don't really want to take that on. It takes a lot of courage to say, okay, I have this really deep trauma and wound, and now I'm ready to work on it. Most people aren't going to do that. So the fairies are a beautiful way because they come in such a beautiful way to help you work and release some of that tight wounds and pains that we've stored in our body so that we can release it. And they take you on this really magical journey when you do fairy Reiki. So you get these beautiful images. They love to show you their shoes. They have really cute shoes. But I have fairy houses at the center. I have fairy houses in my house. The fairies live here. And there's something to that saying in Peter Pan. I do believe in fairies, because if you believe in them and they trust you, you will see them. They even show up in photos. So they are very, 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 very real. And so fairy Reiki is a great way. It's a great tool to have for people that are hanging on to something that's really painful or hard, because they can help you let it go. Now, here's the other thing. The fairy Reiki symbols are so cute. They have their own Reiki symbols as well. So you get to call in the fairy Reiki through those symbols. So when we do a fairy Reiki class, we make fairy dust and we learn about the fairies. We learn how to call them in. We learn how to connect with them. It's a really beautiful way to do healing. So we offer that class online and in person. So you can actually get attuned and take that class online from me at your own pace and work through it. And we also teach it here in Denver. So thanks for asking.
Oh, beautiful. Is that like a level 1, 2 and masters? Now, the Corona I studied was just the masters. So how does that work with fairy Reiki?
It's only a level 1. It's not really kind of a master level. If you want to teach it, we talk about how you can get the books and you can teach it on your own after you take it. So it's not like your traditional Reiki or Reiki with the Violet Flame that has multiple levels. There's only one level. You're just getting attuned to that energy so you can add it to your toolbox and have an additional type of Reiki for you to be able to utilize.
All right, beautiful. Number 3. How can working with your Akashic records, as you being an Akashic record master, help you find your purpose?
So all of us have a purpose. All of us have a genuine purpose and why we came. And it's not a purpose like my purpose was to come here and build a house. My purpose might be that I came here to be a mother. My purpose might be that I came here to be a healer. My purpose might be that I came here to be a teacher. The Akashic Records is called the Hall of Wisdom. It is what you call your book of life in the Bible. So everything you've ever thought, everything you've ever felt is written in your Akashic Records, which is very etheric. It also holds all of your contracts. So before you were born, you went before your general counsel and you requested to have a physical experience in this lifetime, and you selected all the things that you wanted to experience, including the relationships that you have in your life. And so the Akashic Records hold your blueprint of what your challenges are going to be and what your gifts are going to be. I think of the Akashic Records holds information of all lifetimes. So I always tell people, think about a video game, because everybody seems to understand a little bit of a video game. When you have your first lifetime, you're at level 1 in the video game. Now, the first time you play that level, you don't know where all the bad guys are. You don't know where all the golden nuggets are. You don't know where all the traps are. And it takes you a while to figure it out, to work through that level, to get to the end. Now, as you progress, each level is a lifetime. And by the time you get to the 12th level of the game, you could go back and do the first level really easy. You could probably make it through in less than an hour because you know all the things. What if in your lifetimes that you're gaining that wisdom in your soul and you just know things? You don't know why you know things. You don't know why you understand how to fix that sink. You don't know why you understand how to manage people. You don't know why you understand how to change a tire. Could it be because you've done it multiple times through multiple lifetimes and that's imprinted in your soul? And what I find with purpose is most people have done similar things throughout many of their lifetimes to kind of get to be the expert or the master. So like the doctor, the nurse, the healer, the herbalist, the holistic, there'll be similar things through all lifetimes because we go back to what we know and we're getting to be experts at those areas in our lives, which is really about our purpose. Now, you probably know your purpose. What lights you up? What are you passionate about? What gives you the most joy? What would you do for free just to get to do it? What has shown up in your life over and over again? You know, me as a retail person, the first 20 years, every time I got a job, they put me in the HR area. I didn't have to tell them I was HR. I didn't even say anything to them. I always ended up doing the training, the education, the hiring. Why is that? Because that's my purpose. That's what I'm really good at. That's what I came here to do, was teach. And as a child, I played teacher. I played shop. Those are purpose because they drive us. But the records can give you clarifications on things of why did that happen to me? Why do I have that relationship? Why am I struggling? Why am I blocked here? Why do I have this challenge? It can enlighten you on what's happening, how to move through it, what that is for you.
Beautiful. Yes, it making me think back to, like, I always knew I was going to be a teacher. And then as I got older, I had worked at an amusement park near Pittsburgh. And where do they put me? Fish pond with the kids. I was always with children. And then I became manager of the birthday game. So everything was always about children, from, like, babysitting and different jobs and that, and working and teaching. And so it's kind of interesting as you're saying that. It makes me kind of think backwards in life of, I always knew I was going to be teaching. So, well, that was our last question. As you've been talking, is there something that you have forgotten about, something what you want to share with the listeners? The floor is yours.
Oh, well, thank you for that. If I can say anything, please remember that you are sacred, that you are divine. Your life may not show that. You may not feel that at times, but you are a sacred, divine soul that's having a physical experience. And if you can just remember how perfect you are, how beautiful you were created, and what you're here to do, then you will be able to navigate life's journey. Remember, sometimes we need a coach or a mentor to help us. We need somebody to be a guide or to let us see something that we can't see ourselves. If I can leave you with anything, is remember you're divine, you're sacred, and you're very loved. You are never alone in this world. You always have lots of support and lots of love all around you. Get curious in your life, explore, find new things, challenge yourself a little bit, and find the joy in life. You know, everyone is a magical creator of their own lives. If you want joy, start experiencing joy. Start thinking about what joy is. Start making that a priority in your life, and you will build even more joy in your life long term. Tracy, it has been wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing your time with me today.
Thank you. And where can we hear your podcast?
So it is called Sacred Magic Podcast, and it's on the Violet Rayne, VIALET RAYNE.com website. Follow, like us, and comment on your favorite channels. We'd love to see you listening, and we'd love to know that you're out there.
All right, wonderful. Well, thank you taking time out of your very busy schedule to take this Ready, Set, Reiki journey with me.
It has been great. Thank you for listening.
Beautiful. All right, my wonderful listeners, if you want your question featured on Ready, Set, Reiki, reach out, www.readysetreiki.com, or check me out on social media. I'm Tracy C. Wright, and this has been Ready, Set, Reiki.